This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.
That music sounds like a horror movie is about to start.
Well, I haven't had my coffee yet, so hold on a second. How was that? Was that better?
Yeah.
All right. I mean, I see the sour face this morning. You must have been talking to Packer fans.
Yeah. Where's Broski? Is he awake yet?
Yeah, he should. I assume he's going to roll in here momentarily. You say Broski's name 3 times and Broski shows up. So I'm sure Broski will be here because you already invoked the name. So,
I was just on Twitter and I saw a new trade proposal. So the Bears get the Bears get Breece Hall, and they trade DeAndre Swift and a second-round pick to the Jets.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I mean, these are fan-driven ideas, and I get the fans get this. Oh crap! See, the Packer fans you let them play with technology, and you get messed up and everything. There you go. Let's fix that. Okay. Yeah, my camera has a cord that's a little bit like a Packer fan, finicky. There you go. Now I just gotta get my background back. I don't know if I like that idea, to be honest with you. It's just one of those. There we go. I mean, what has Breece Hall really done that makes you want to trade Swift for him? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
It's Swift for Hall and what else?
Bears give up a Swift in a second round.
No, because I don't think Breece Hall is worth a Swift and a second-round pick. He's not like tearing up the league top 3 running back. And even then, I wouldn't do it because no. Just no. Because I can do enough in the draft where no. He's not CMC in CMC's prime. He's not.
How about Swift in a third round?
No. Not even straight up.
How about Swift in a fourth round?
Not even straight up. I wouldn't even do it straight up. It makes no sense for me to do that. None. What makes Breece Hall like such an attractive prospect for the Bears to make? Yeah. Thank you.
He's younger.
Okay. So he's younger. What else?
So he doesn't have as many miles on him.
Glenn doesn't like Swift. Okay, Brent, show me where Glenn said he does not like Swift, that he is not his type of player or something like that. I mean, once again, you're basing it on a sample size because when they got a guy in the draft that is phenomenal after they signed in another running back who was going to always be part of an AB situation. When they got Jahmyr Gibbs, Swift had just come off some injuries. It was a little, and like, look, that made sense. And of course, let's forget Gibbs on a rookie contract. Swift wasn't going to be on a rookie contract. So there was a financial aspect to that move that the Lions made as well. That narrative just sucks. I'm sorry. I'm going to say it, Brent. I love you, but this narrative sucks. That's a bad take. You don't know what he doesn't like. He might think Swift is the best thing since sliced bread as a person, but
I don't know. Sliced bread is pretty good.
It is pretty good. Better than sliced dill. But yeah, I mean, look, if fans get in their head this idea, we need to get rid of Swift. Why? With the shitty O line last year, ran for 950 yards. In fact, he was the catalyst in a lot of games that got that offense moving. He has home run hitting ability. He was healthy last year. He was good in his one and only year in Philly as well. So I have no reason to make a trade for him. None. And with this draft class, I can go in the second round and get a good running back to pair with Swift for a year, because then I have an out on a contract if I want to get out. If I get rid of him, what am I doing? I'm taking on dead cap space to do what? Nothing.
What would his dead cap be?
The dead cap on him?
Mm-hmm.
Let me look it up. I will do that.
People are just bored and getting restless for the draft.
Yeah, that's what it is. I mean, you're 100% right. It's like that's why I hate about the draft, the way that this is all set up with the draft. DeAndre Swift would be $10 million in dead cap. Our cap would go back we'd lose $723,000 of cap by cutting or trading him.
That's a lot of dead cap for a running back.
It is. There's a lot of dead cap for anyone. Well, let me go to post-June 1st. Hold on. Post-June 1st, we gain $610,000 to have 8.7 in dead cap. Like, what's the point? So what's the point of getting rid of them? No, Brent, that's not wrong. I'm giving an opinion, you're giving an opinion. I'm not saying it's wrong. What I'm saying is, show me. He was injured a lot that year. He was coming into a contract, or I need an extension time that year. They drafted a rookie with team control for 5 years. Getting rid of Swift was a smart business move as well. So you can't say, Ben does not like Swift. You can't say that. You can make the assumption, which you're doing, that, well, based on the fact that maybe he didn't get the rock as much on the sidelines, and he didn't agree with the running back coach during practice. I'm assuming that Glenn doesn't like. Really? Okay. How do you not know what they just did at OTA? Maybe Ben sat in the office, drank a cup of coffee, and just laughed at folks like you, thinking that everyone thinks we hate each other. What idiots. I mean, dude, you know what I mean? I mean, you don't know. I mean, I don't know either. I'm just giving you my perception of it, of why Swift was gone out of Detroit. It's not that Ben necessarily hated him. And also at the time, it was a different situation, different time, right? Swift had been injured, right? Swift was in a different place in his career. Time changes things too. Just because something was true 3 years ago doesn't mean it's true today. But I agree with you, Sarah. People are getting restless. And then, Brent, here's the other thing. What is it with Lions fans and hate? You guys hate everyone once they leave the team, just hate, visceral hate. Oh, Ben's no longer coach. Fuck him. I hope he loses everything. His family dies. Oh, Swift is gone. Yeah, no one ever wants that guy. What a total bum. Dude, come on, man. And I don't think that's you, Brent, by the way. Yeah. I wasn't totally surprised by it last year. But dude's got home run hitting speed. I think, like I said, situations have changed. So I don't think a trade for Brees Hall makes sense. It just doesn't. And drafting Genty at 4, Sarah, does not make sense.
Makes sense to me.
Well, that's because you want the Bears to do something stupid to make the Vikings look smart.
Makes perfect sense to me.
So, I mean, yeah, I mean, the next rumor is going to be somewhat wide receiver related, or, maybe it'll be edge rusher related. I don't know. But you're right. Fans got a fan at this point of the year because there's such a long gap between the frenzy of free agency and the draft. Like, what else? I mean, think about it. Like, free agency was like, what, a month ago?
Yeah, and free agency is only exciting the first 2 days also.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Like, you get this first 2 days of, oh my God. And then, okay, it's draft time. We got 6 weeks, guys. Well, talk about the draft for 6 weeks. Really? Let's do 1,000 mock drafts.
Only for your team to draft a guy that's not even on your mock.
Hey, remember, our mock draft on the Huddle Sports Network have a 1,000,000% accuracy rating. With the money back guaranteed by Sarah's baby daddy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, geez. But yeah, I mean, I know I've been seeing more. Now Shador is a lock to go to, who did I see? Oh, Nola.
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't he a lock to go number 2?
Yeah, but I think with the news that Derek Carr might be out for the season, they have no other option.
Yeah, but is he going to be there? When's Nola pick? Where are they, like 9?
9.
Yeah, is he going to be there at 9?
I think he will.
Is he falling that far back? I mean, according to John Dorn, the Bears are going to trade up to number 1 to take him. So, I mean,
I think if the Browns don't take him at 2, he will drop.
I think the Browns might. The Browns are interesting, right? Because God, they're such a hot mess. So
them signing Flacco to 1 year kind of indicates to me they're drafting a quarterback.
See that? I would agree. And then with the big Myles Garrett extension, like, dude, you can't afford to pay people. And if Massage Boy is out for the year with injury, that saves them cap space too.
Well, and they need that rookie contract. You kind of offset that horrible contract.
Exactly. And then I think, Watson, I don't know if you ever get rid of him, and via the cut in Cleveland without a massive price tag. Let me see what his contract is.
I think they have like another year before they can cut him without heavy penalties.
They restructured him last year, right?
Yep.
So Deshaun Watson, let me pull up his contract. My God, his dead cap this year. Okay, so 2025, his dead cap to be $167 million for a pre-June 1st cut. Let me just go to post-June 1st. Okay. Next year, if he's a post-June 1st cut, they're not negative on the cap, but he has a dead cap of $80 million.
Yeah, that's right. I said he's going to be on the team. They just won't let him in the building. He'll just be on the team in name.
Well, in 27, they'd actually gain $1.3 million by cutting him and have a dead cap of 25. So here's what you do.
Yeah, so that's
if he has like out.
Oh, go ahead.
I would say if he's out for 2025, I think there's cap. If he's IR, however they, whichever list he needs to be on for that, they'll save cap money this year, right? So they won't have 81 million dead. They won't be negative 46 million in cap because of it.
Yeah.
In 26, you look, if he comes back, once you draft a quarterback, right? He comes back. Now he's your backup. Yeah, he's an $80 million backup, but he's a backup at that point. And actually, It's a funny thing. His cap number is only $35 million this year. So next year for 26, his cap number is $80 million, guaranteed salary of $46 million, right? But guess what? That's your backup quarterback for a year, because then you can cut him after that in 27, right?
Right.
Oh no.
Yeah, 27 is going to be the earliest they can get out of that contract.
But that's only if you cut him. But he's post June 1st. If he's a pre June 1st cut, you're negative $23 million in cap, right?
Yeah.
In 26, if you cut him post June 1st, you break even on cap, and you have $80 million in dead. So, and right now, for this year, they have $19 million in cap, so they're doing okay. So, like next year, it's feasible. What's up, Woody? And Sarah's not a fella, so just throw that out there.
They're so confusing though, because like with the Flacco signing, it indicates they're drafting a quarterback, but then why did they trade for Pickett then? You know?
See, that's the other weird piece. But Pickens, you could throw away. You could cut Flacco too. But I mean, or you go with 3 quarterbacks. Well, you keep 3 on the roster. Don't do the 2 with the third guy that hangs out kind of thing. You could just put 3 on the roster. Okay, there you go. Yep, Sarah, she's the homie. Gotcha. They are so screwed, and and Myles Garrett, they saved that train, right? Got the extension, and all the I want to be traded out of Cleveland talk from everyone else stopped, right? But Deshaun, that quarterback position is what's screwing him. So the best thing that's going for him right now is Deshaun's out for the year. Like, that's good for them because they're going to save money on the cap.
And they're not forced to put him out on the field.
And they can get rid of him next year, post June 1st, and really, let me look at next year again really quick.
I don't think he takes another snap in the NFL.
For 2026 right now, they're negative $5.2 million with 30 people on the active roster. A lot of that is Deshaun Watson's $80 million cap hit. Denzel Ward's a $30 million cap hit. Myles Garrett's a $23.6 million cap hit. They have void year on Wyatt Teller, who's almost $20 million. They have a void year on Benito, who's $23.5 million cap hit. Njoku is a $24.3 million cap hit and a void year. They got a lot of guys in void years, so they're going to have room to rework stuff. But they have to figure out Deshaun Watson is going to go down as the worst signing in NFL history.
I don't know. I still say the Herschel Walker trade is the worst because they got a dynasty out of that trade.
No, that's trade. I would agree with that. I think the Herschel Walker one, yeah. But I mean, this wasn't a trade. This was a signing.
No, the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, but the actual signing of the contract, the $250 million guaranteed contract.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be the worst.
Yeah, so it was a bad trade and a bad contract.
Yeah, but the trade. What was the trade though?
It was 3 first-round picks, I think.
No,
it was 2 or 3.
Hold on. Let me look that back up. Deshaun Watson trade 2. Oh, here we go. Okay. Wow. Yeah, 3 first-round draft picks, a 2023 third-round pick, and a 2024 fourth-round pick. He was also signed to a $230 million fully guaranteed contract, the highest guaranteed deal in NFL history. Yeah, that was a terrible, terrible trade and sign. Who is the GM? Is that GM still there?
I don't think so.
God, that is like, you want to talk about setting your team back.
Wait, no, the GM is still there.
How does he still have a job?
Andrew Berry. Probably because it was the owner forcing it, not the GM.
Maybe. Yeah, they gave up a 2022, the 13th overall pick in 22. Then they gave up their 23 first rounder, 24 first rounder. So that debt is paid. So the trade is done for them. Jeez. And look what the Texans have done. Right? I mean,
Right.
just that. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, to me, the Herschel trade is still worse than that trade, just because the Cowboys got a dynasty out of
Yeah.
it. But if the Texans become a dynasty out of it, I would say that's a worse trade because they lost the trade and they had to give out a fully guaranteed contract.
And I'm trying to wonder what players were drafted. Okay, here we go. And here are the players the Texans got. Offensive. This is the results of the deal with the draft picks. Offensive guard Kenyon Green, running back Damian Pierce, defensive end Will Anderson Jr., wide receiver Tank Dell, cornerback Kamari Lassiter, and linebacker Jamil Hill, and safety Kalen Bullock. That's what they got. The Browns got Deshaun Watson and the draft pick that they actually used to trade to get Jerry Jeudy. So they got Deshaun Watson and Jerry Jeudy, and the Texans got Kenyon Green, Damian Pierce, Will Anderson Jr., Tank Dell, Kamari Lassiter, Jamal Hill, and Kalen Bullock. Wow.
Kenyon Green was horrible, though.
Yeah, Will Anderson Jr., though, was not. Tank Dell, not.
Yeah.
Pierce, I don't know if Pierce did anything.
Serviceable.
Yeah, I mean, he's still on the roster, right? Yeah. And he was taken in the 4th round, so you don't expect a ton from him. Let me see. Let me go back to some other plays. Yeah, because he was a 4th round pick. Tank Dell, though, was a 3rd round pick. He worked out. Will Anderson worked out. Let me see what Kamari Lassiter, who was a 24, Jamal Hill, they're both fruits of that trade. Lassiter last year, so he's 2 years pro now. Actually, he was a 2nd rounder. Thank you for not giving me any detailed sports data, USA Today. And Jamal Hill was taken round 6, so you don't expect much out of him. Yeah. Wow. So terrible trade, terrible signing, and that team is set back a decade. Yeah, that's what we were talking about, Brent. Like, Ricky Williams trade was bad too. Yeah. Let me see what the Ricky Williams trade. That was a big trade too. Ricky Williams, the trade included all 6 of the Saints picks in that draft, as well as 2 others in the 2000. So yeah, Ricky Williams was selected by New Orleans Saints in the 1999 draft after they traded away their entire draft to select him. The trade included all 6 of the Saints picks in that draft, as well as 2 others in the 2000 draft.
The Russell Wilson trade would have been bad, but Denver got saved by Bo Nix.
So let me see what the payoff. I mean, Williams was good in Miami, for sure. But then the smoking weed stuff kind of killed him. But yeah, the Saints didn't get anything out of the draft picks, though. So really, believe it or not, people say that the Dolphins still won that trade because the NOLA didn't hit on anything on their pick. The only draft selection that panned out for them was defensive end Charles Grant, who in 8 years with the team logged 47 sacks, 17 forced fumbles, and 66 tackles for loss. That was their net gain on that trade. So yeah, the Ricky Williams trade surprisingly does not. Wow. So yeah, so going back to the Bears, I don't think the Bears are making a trade for Brees Hall. I don't think the Bears are making any kind of trade for any kind of skill player. Like, honestly, I think the roster's good. They're just looking to draft. If anything, I see the Bears moving back in the draft. If anything, depending on what's there at 10. Right? So we did 2 mock drafts on JB's show, and the first one we did, all the guys who I would I would have taken at 10 were gone. So remember, I moved back in the draft. But the second draft we did, man, I loved that draft. I mean, so I think the Bears, if anything, if the player they want is not available at 10, I think they move back. Or if they have a player they want that they think they can get at 15 or 16, they move back. I think if Genty's there at 10, they trade with Dallas and go back to 12. And while they're at it, they get another second-round pick out of them or something. I mean, Poles has done well with trades. He's done well with the first 3 rounds of a draft. At post third round, he's a little hit or miss, but most GMs are. Like that's he doesn't draft well in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round. Most GMs don't. I mean, those guys, out of all those guys, how many of those guys really pan out for any GM, right? That's so hit or miss. But if you got a GM who drafts well in the first 3 rounds, that's a good GM. So I just don't see it happening. I don't know. I wish Broski were here. So, we invoked the Broski name, and and Woody's at a hockey game today, so that's why we don't have Woody today. And Mike is in Vegas, probably placing bets on the draft. So yeah, I don't know what. God, that's a horrible trade. So Sarah, where do you rank the Bears Carolina trade though? I mean,
right now I say it's a wash until the Bears actually do something with those picks and win a playoff game. But right now I say it's a wash.
I mean, because they basically got Keebler too. That was it.
Yeah, but I mean
the
with all those picks you guys got though, you only won one more game than them. And so until you guys win a playoff game, I think the trade is a wash.
And the trade's not complete yet. There is that too. The trade won't be complete till after the draft this year when we use that second round pick.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, as of just right now, but I'm not saying it can't change. It's just that as of right now, it's a wash to me,
So we used the pick we got that year in the flip for our starting right tackle, who's been solid, right? Then we used the number 1 pick we got from the next year on Caleb, who in year 1, okay.
I think your right tackle's solid, but I don't think he was worth the 10th pick overall.
I don't think he was at 10. Was he at 10 or 13? He was.
No, he was 9th. Wasn't he?
Oh, no, I'm going to look him up right now.
He was like 9th or 10th.
Where we picked him at. Sometimes over the cap is just Darnell Wright, number 10. He was taken at 10.
Yeah, I think he's a good tackle, but I don't think it was worth the 10th pick.
Oh, his PFF grades say otherwise, but that he is worth the 10th pick. But some people don't like PFF. His valuation for 24. Okay, so his contract in 24, he got paid. His base salary was $915,000. Then between the signing bonus, the roster bonus, and all that, his cap number was 4.7. His valuation's at $10 million. Wait, I'm sorry. His valuation, is at $13.1 million. So way overperforming contract. So, I mean, from that was a good piece. And then you get Caleb, who last year, his rookie year is probably better than Keebler's rookie year. The frustration, because with Bryce, the frustration was with him, right? With Caleb, the frustration hasn't been with Caleb. It's been with coaching and offensive play calling.
Yeah,
So,
but Bryce don't have the weapons that Caleb has.
well, but that doesn't matter who wins the trade. But yeah, you're right, because one of the weapons that we got in the trade was DJ Moore, who had a 1,000-yard season, right, and then a 900-yard season, almost 1,000 yards. So I would say it's not a wash. Team win-wise, I get that argument. But for the performance of the players in the trade, I think the Bears have won that trade, which isn't even complete yet. With the potential of this being one, now look, let's say the Bears go to playoffs this year and win a playoff game or two, and Carolina wins 4 or 5 games. I think that just makes it more obvious. To your point, Sarah, I think that would make it more obvious. Right now, it's not obvious because you're right. The Bears won 5 games last year. Big deal. So I mean,
because then the whole point of making trades is to make your team better, and so because that hasn't been accomplished, that's why it's a wash to me.
Well, no, but see, that's very simplistic way of looking at it, though, and I don't take that the wrong way. But I mean, if you're only looking at wins as your team, but that doesn't mean your team isn't better. Like I would argue that the Bears are a lot better because of that trade, not just marginally better. They're a lot better because out of that trade, you've got a true number 1 receiver in the league who's putting up great numbers. You got a true starting right tackle who will be there, an anchor there for a decade or longer, barring injury. You got your franchise quarterback. Apparently, it's only been 1 year, so we'll see how that piece of it goes out. And then you're going to get another blue chip this year.
I don't know. I guess I disagree with that because if you look at the Russell trade, what Seattle got in return, those players took their team to the playoffs. And until you guys make the playoffs,
those where that team was when the trade was made, they already had a better roster than what the Bears had when that trade was made. So it's not an apples to apples comparison. So it's like
they didn't have a quarterback either. They had Geno Smith.
But it's more than just a quarterback. It's how good was your offense, how good was your defensive line, defensive line, your corners, your safeties, your team in total. I mean, look at like last year with you guys. You had a great team that you just had to plug any quarterback you plugged in there was going to win games as long as they could manage a game. Like Kurt Warner in 2000 didn't have to do anything; he just had to manage. So it's a lot different than if let's say Ginger Jesus went to Chicago last year. The pieces weren't there, right? So that's a part of it. If you look at the players received and what those players have done right now, you have to look at because you're right. On the win total, the Bears have 1 more win. But you look at the players and the impact those players are making, the players
but they haven't, though.
Are making a much bigger impact than what Carolina got.
I don't know. Like I said, I have to disagree with that because they haven't made the team better, though, being that the team only won 1 more game than the Panthers.
Well, no,
that's just my argument, though.
Well, like I said, and then if the Bears make the playoffs this year,
yeah, then it won't be a wash. But as of right now, to me, it's a wash.
But if you look at the player for player, I mean, you can even say Caleb in year 1 was better than
He was better, but he didn't make the team better. I mean, you still only won 5 games, so
but he
didn't really make a difference.
But he did make the team better. They lose 1 game on a blocked field goal. They lose 2 games on bad coaching calls. That's not the player that made the team worse. The player put him in a position to win. The coaching failed at that point. So you got to take all those things into consideration, right? So that's like when you look at
I don't deal with ifs because I mean
it's not if Caleb put the Bears in position to win 3 other football games that were lost. Why were those games lost? Not due to Caleb, not due to bad play. 2 of them are due to bad coaching. One was because basically Green Bay made a play on a field goal, right? They made a great defensive play. Caleb put them in position to win those games. DJ Moore helped with that. Darnell Wright helped with that, all three offensive players. So I think you do have to kind of look, when you look at trades, you have to look at the totality, and you have to look at the players and how they perform, like which players have been a bigger impact to their team. If you take DJ Moore off that roster, the Bears maybe don't win 5 games. You take Darnell Wright off that offensive line, maybe he's taking 15 more sacks. So you have to look at those in the picture, right? Because they all build the team. So I would agree with you that right now, though, like I said, I agree with you that based off the win total, it's kind of a wash. The Bears did beat them head to head both years. So they've won that battle twice. On their overall record battle, they're ahead on that one, but it's not by a lot. So I can understand the wash. But then when I look at the players themselves, the Bears come out way ahead because the Bears have a true number one that's going to put up 1,000 yards on you. Does Carolina from that deal? No. We have a starting right tackle that's going to be the anchor for 10 years out of that deal. Does Carolina? No. Okay, let's go to starting quarterbacks. Which one right now? Neither of them has won you a ton of games. Caleb, though, won more games in his rookie year than what they traded for. And which one has the potential, and which one's showing more potential? I would argue Caleb is. So from that viewpoint, the Bears win the trade easily.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I said, to me, it's about wins and what those trades did. Like with the Texans, those that trade made them get players that took them to the playoffs. So the Texans won that trade, and until you guys make the playoffs, it's going to be a wash because you haven't done anything with those picks or trades either.
So those players by in of themselves did not get the Texans to the playoffs because Stroud was not part of that.
But Will Anderson was, and he was a big factor. Because he was defensive player of the year.
But again, though, he was a factor. He was a factor, not the factor, not the only factor. He was a part of the puzzle, right? So the Bears puzzle isn't even complete yet on this trade, right? Because we still got to take the second rounder this year to complete.
Well, yeah, and that's why I'm saying until the Bears make the playoffs,
let's say the Bears don't make the playoffs, and let's say the Bears don't make the playoffs, but DJ Moore goes to the Hall of Fame and Caleb Williams goes to the Hall of Fame, which I don't know how that would happen without them making the playoffs. But let's just say that were to happen. Or let's say DJ Moore goes to the Hall of Fame, right? Let's say he goes to the Hall of Fame when all is said and done. Neither team gets a playoff or Lombardi. Okay, well, now you got a Hall of Famer out of that deal. You win the deal that way, too. So the wins and losses isn't the only determinant factor is what I'm getting at there.
But didn't DJ Moore produce way more in Carolina than he did with Chicago?
Let me look at DJ Moore career stats. Last year was a down year for him, but let me look at his career stats. Let me bring it up real quick. DJ Moore. Last year we had 966 yards. Okay, so let me go to see all. All right, in Carolina, he had his rookie year 788 yards, 1,100 yards in 19, 1175, 1193, 1157. His last year in Carolina, 888, 1364. So career year with Justin in Chicago. 966 last year. So he had a career year, and then he had his third worst year out of 7. His average last year was his lowest in his career. His touchdowns was not. His long was – he had the shortest long last year, only 44 yards. However, he had the highest amount of receptions in his career last year with 98, with 140 targets, which was also a career high. So that was a lot of short passing last year. That's why the average was down. The yards were down. The offense was not pushing the ball and spreading the field. So he's still doing really well. Last year was just a mess in Chicago when it came to the offense, with not the players but the coaching and the decisions made by coaching was a mess, and that hinders. And I think that's what muddies the water for you in this trade a little bit, because our offense was so horrendous last year, and so far all the players taken in this trade have been offensive sided. And when the offense didn't do jack as a whole last year, it's like, well, did they really win the trade? Well, so I get your argument. I'm not saying it's wrong. I just think that they won it. If you dig deeper, they win the trade. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but I'm not. I mean, like I said, to me, it's just a wash because it didn't really make Chicago better or anything. Yeah, you have better players, but you still only won five games. So until those players produce a winning season that you get a playoff appearance out of it or playoff win out of it, then it's kind of a wash to me.
So let me pull up the sporting news. Let me see when this article is written, because that'll say a lot. Oh, that was written in 23. I want to find something more current. In 23, everyone said the Bears obviously won that trade. All right, here we go. The 33rd team. They're a lot of fun. When was this posted? Oh, that's 23 as well. Come on, give me. No one's posted anything current. No, that was October 6th of 24. So nothing current. No one's currently debating what we are, Sarah. They need to catch up with us. We're ahead. We're just too far ahead of these people. Yeah, I mean, and the trade's not complete yet, right? The Bears still got another draft pick. So if that draft pick, let's say, becomes a young stud running back, like I took in JB's trade, mock draft the other night, then I think it makes it more obvious. But
just like the Rams and Lions trade, like as good of players the Lions got, the Rams still won that trade because they got a Super Bowl out of it,
Well, they did because they got Stafford, but that trade also I don't think. Hold on a second. What's up? Okay, love it. I think that look, the Rams immediately see a Super Bowl win, but they were already a Super Bowl contending team before Stafford. Stafford was what put them over the top. For the Lions,
yeah, and the Lions haven't even made an appearance with the.
But they got their building blocks, and because of that, they're back-to-back division champs. Made a deep playoff run and then a short playoff run. I think if they make an appearance in the Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl, that trade becomes a wash.
Right.
But I would say, yeah, if you look at just if the only metric is Super Bowl wins, then yeah, obviously the Rams win that trade. But the Rams were already a Super Bowl ready team, and there were other moves they made that year to go along with it, bringing in Von Miller, bringing in at wide receiver, they brought in Odell Beckham Jr. They brought some other people in. So there were some other moves that went along with that trade. So it wasn't a trade by itself for the Rams. It was a trade coupled with some other moves, got them over the hump, and they went and they beat Joe Burrow in the Super Bowl. When you go to the Lions, that trade got them their franchise quarterback, which we've been debating for weeks now. But he is their franchise quarterback right now, and got him the building blocks that helped build the team to what it is today. So, yeah, I mean, it was a good trade for them. I think they're better off now than they would have been had they not made the trade. So even by saying the Rams win that trade, it's not saying, well, yeah, the Lions, you lost, you're terrible for it. No, because the Lions actually did really well on that deal. They're a lot better today because of that trade.
Right.
So it was not a bad trade for them to make. That was actually a good trade for them. Now, are they going to win a Super Bowl? Well, they have to add other pieces. And I think that's a thing when we look at these trades, like the trade, how often does a trade in of itself, can you say that one trade is why they won a Super Bowl? The only one you can do that with really is the Dallas trade back in the day of Herschel Walker, because you can say, here's the whole roster of players they got that got them the Super Bowl. But outside of the Herschel Walker trade, how many other trades can you say that with?
Yeah, that's why I said the Herschel Walker trade to me is still the worst trade ever.
Yeah, or the best trade if you're a Cowboys fan. But no, I think the Lions made a good trade on Stafford. I think Carolina is going to end up losing that trade. And I think they already are. It's just not clearly obvious. That's the problem. It's not clearly obvious when it should be. I was surprised that most people think that Nola lost the Ricky Williams trade. That one was like, okay. But it just goes to show you can make a blockbuster trade and everyone's like, oh my God, you won, and then completely foul up the draft picks and end up losing it. And we start this off by going back to Cleveland, going full circle. What a terrible trade. And really the Texans haven't capitalized on it yet. They got two really good players out of that, and Tank Dell and
yeah, but they won 2 division titles.
Yeah.
From that.
Yeah. No. They haven't won a Super Bowl yet, but they win the trade. I mean, look at that. It's obvious they win the trade. Because basically they got Deshaun Watson and Jerry Jeudy were the 2 big players they got. They get Will Anderson Jr. and Tank Dell, But then the Browns worsened the deal with the contract. I think had it not been for the contract, they could be a lot more competitive because it would have better money options to do other things. They fouled that deal up more post-deal than during the deal. Because if Deshaun Watson had played to capability and the deal had not been what it was, I think they'd be better off. But Deshaun Watson at the time, you kind of understood, okay, the guy was a great young talent. But the Cleveland had Baker, and that whole trade made no sense to me. Like, you had Baker, who took you from the laughingstock of the NFL to a playoff team, right?
Right.
You kick him to the curb to get a guy who was on a 1-year suspension, but on the field, his last year he played, he looked phenomenal. So I understand taking the risk on him, but not if you're Cleveland with Baker. I can understand if you were Chicago with no quarterback at the time, or
right.
or you're someone else, but not Cleveland. And then Cleveland compounds it by giving them this massive contract. I get, well, we believe in you, dude. You can believe in the guy, but don't believe in the guy so much that you kill your team for the next decade.
Well, I think it makes it worse because the Texans won division titles with those picks. The Bucks won division titles, losing. The Browns lost Baker.
But Sarah, here's a flaw with your logic. If they don't draft C.J. Stroud with their own pick, then they're not winning those division championships. Will Anderson was not winning them a division championship. Neither was Tank Dell without C.J. Stroud, who they drafted with their organic pick.
Yeah, but I mean, Will Anderson still played a huge role in them winning those division championships. I mean, they were offensive and defensive players of the year.
Right, but C.J. Stroud is the bigger piece of that puzzle to them winning the division.
Yeah, but then that would be like the same thing with the Rams. Like, I mean, yeah, they got all these other players, but had they not traded for Stafford, they probably wouldn't have won a Super Bowl because the most important piece of it is the quarterback. And because
they might have been able to win it with Goff, I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying there. But like that's not really it's not really apples to apples with these deals. We can't look at every deal the same because the quantifier for the Rams is different than it was for the Texans in that case, because if you look at just the trade itself, right? If not for the quarterback they drafted, they don't win. Those division titles go away. Those 2 players did not cause a division title in and of by themselves. It was a quarterback they drafted, right? With that organic pick. I still think they win the trade because they got 2 better quality players overall. Because Jerry Jeudy, Tank Dell, I'm taking Tank Dell, right? And they both
I
have,
don't know because he's like,
well,
I
injury
mean,
right now.
right, and I mean, for the first
But
2 years of
yeah,
his career, he's, and this is this
third
is the
year.
third year, and he's
Yeah,
done
and
well
Judy's
for the
got
season.
5 years. Judy's got 4 or 5 years. So I would probably take Tank Dell still, but Anderson's worked out better than Sean Watson has. So just on that side, they win it. But so that's why it's not the quantifier for me is not the division championships. It's the players they got were more impact to their team than what the Browns got. Because had the Browns not jacked up the contract, right, they might have won 2 division championships themselves. They made other mistakes along with that trade. So I agree with you. Yes, Houston wins that trade. I just disagree with the reason why.
Yeah, I don't know. I think if the Browns had just kept Baker, they would have been
Yeah.
way better off.
1,000% agree. 1,000%. So the Carolina deal, I think this year we'll get more clarity on it after the Bears complete that deal with the pick this year, and after the games are played. And next year we'll be able to look at this deal and have more clarity
Yeah.
on who won that. But I mean, I get the whole wins loss, Super Bowl, no Super Bowl. But if I look at the impact that the players in the trade had on the team, that's a big thing. And like I said, with Detroit, that's a harder one because it was Stafford along with other things, but they got the ring that year, and he's still been he's solidified that offense for them for the last couple years. But for the Lions, that allowed them to get their core players that they have now built a very good franchise upon. So while the success wasn't a ring right away, on the other hand, they've also gotten some good sustained success out of that deal, and they are obviously a lot better for that deal because you could go the inverse. If the Rams would have had those draft picks, how much better would the Rams be right now? And that's the other hard part about this too, is because if the Rams had kept their picks, what would those you can really get in the weeds on it. But I mean, I think that was a good trade for both teams where the Rams maybe win the trade, but it's not like you made a bad trade. It's like they win the trade, but you really made a good trade for your franchise that made you better overall. When you look at the Cleveland trade, you can't say that. When you look at the Carolina trade, really it's harder for them to say that because they were even unsure with the quarterback they drafted last year. They benched him for 3 games. Straight up benched the guy they made that trade for. Like, hit the bench, dude. So I mean, it kind of set them back with their progression as a franchise as well. Now, for the Bears side, you're like, dude, you got all this stuff. Why aren't you winning more games? Well, there were some other issues there. But
yeah, but I mean, like I said, you could say the same about the Panthers because I mean, Bryce didn't have any kind of weapons like Caleb did.
Right, but that's also part of that trade. The trade took away his primary weapon. His primary weapon was taken away before he got there because of the trade.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, the talent that Bryce had to deal with is nowhere near the talent Caleb had, and yet, still one less game.
That's because of the trade. He doesn't have a good right tackle because of that trade. He doesn't have a good wide receiver because of that trade.
Yeah, which is my point. It's like, and yes, he still won just one less game than you guys. And so
one less game or the defense or like how they win those games. Like, I mean, record wise, that's why I agree with your argument on record wise. The Bears should have done much better than they did record wise, and that's why the waters get muddy. I agree with you on that. But if I look at the personnel and what they've been able and where they've set that team up, the Bears got a lot more out of that deal than Carolina did. The Bears got a starting wide receiver, a starting right tackle, and a starting quarterback who's never been benched, never missed a game. Carolina got a starting quarterback that was benched in his second season. But if I just use his first season to do an apples to apples between him and Caleb way outperformed him. So I just look on that head-to-head, the Bears win. But then once again, you're muddied though because of the record, and that's understandable, and I get that. That's what's hard with these trades. That's why it's hard with these draft picks too, because honestly, I don't think you can judge some of these draft picks yet until after their third year, right? Darnell Wright.
Well, I mean, like, there's like a section of Vikings fans who are like saying Dallas Turner is a bust. I'm like,
he's not.
He was drafted and he got stuck behind two. Like, one guy was made all pro, the other guy was a pro bowler too. And so, right. It's like, where's he gonna play? I mean, like, people were like, well, we should have drafted Jared Verse. I'm like, even if we drafted Verse, the same thing would have happened, except Verse is older, right. And so I would rather take in Turner because he's only 21.
Like, Darnell Wright is now entering year 3. Kale will be into year 2. Keebler L2 will be coming into year 3. So I don't think you can judge those players yet, whether they're busts, because 2 of them you'll be able to judge this year. After the year, they'll complete 3 years. Now I think it's fair for you to judge them. Caleb, you got 2 years to go before you can judge them.
And I mean, the amount of snaps that Turner took, he had one less sack than Verse, and he had a interception. So to me, it's like, to say he's a bust is like talk about an over exaggeration.
It is. And you got to give the guy 2 more years. Now, look, if he doesn't crack the starting lineup in the next 2 years, well, then right. They might still have an argument. But until then, they don't.
Right.
And once again, you look at, well, who are the players in front of you? You weren't benching them. So I mean, that's a problem. Fans, they will immediately say someone's a bust. Like, Love is not a bust, nor is Love great. We won't know until the end of this year what he really is. And it's hard for him because he's in, like, what, you're 7 or 8 now? But this is third year as a starter. Now we can actually judge him as a starting quarterback after this season. We have 3 years on him. And I hate when fans want to do it. Like, after the first year of Love, Packer fans were like, oh, my God, he's the anointed one. He's going to be the best ever. Dude, it's 1 year. Yeah, but you don't understand. He was we know what we've got because she was here for 4 years and practices, blah, 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 blah. That doesn't mean shit. Give me 3 years of data of him playing as a starter. Then you can say that he's going to be X, Y, or Z, or he is. After 1 year,
that's why I think we didn't go the Aaron Rodgers route, because we didn't want to get stuck in a place like them where we would have to decide whether or not we're going to extend JJ with only like a year or 2 of experience. And it's like, well, I don't know if he's worth the extension.
Yeah, it's we have 2 that are do or die this year, Broderick Martin and Colby Sorsdale. Yeah, year 3, man, that's your make or break. That's when you know you're going to get extended, or your 5th-year option is not going to be picked up if you're a first rounder. If you're a second or rounder or beyond, like, this is your prove it year 3. So on my last bad take, though, we have to call it a Sunday morning. Thank you guys for spending your Sunday morning with us. Don't forget, tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Central, we'll be back for Ken and Ken in the morning, Monday through Friday. Of course, we'll see Sarah and maybe Broski, Brent, and others. So, guys, thank you for being with us today. Remember, Packers suck, and go Bears!
This is a Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, Facebook, and of course YouTube. Get all your NFL news here first.